with all due respect. With all due respect.
What's going on, y'all? This is your main man, Mo, and right to my left, we have the lovely Lady Simone. How you doing today, beautiful?
I'm doing good. How are you, handsome?
I'm a married woman. I'm a married man. Please stop. I'm a married man. Please don't do that. And we are the With All Due Respect podcast. I had a conversation, an interesting conversation with one of my coworkers. I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants to be out there. But he told me being great or pursuing greatness in every aspect of your life, I'm paraphrasing here as well, so in case he's listening, it's not healthy. Said at some point you're gonna have to be okay with average, mediocre, or just lacking in certain departments. So if you want to be a great podcaster, okay, cool. Something's going to be sacrificed in the process of you wanting to become a great podcaster or a great athlete or whatever it is that you choose that you feel is your walk. What do you think about that, Lady Simone?
That's interesting because when you look at it, man, it all goes off what is your definition of greatness for one. You know what I'm saying? That takes us back to what we feel, what is our definition of success. So when you look at greatness, it's what that person defined as greatness, but even along the way and whatever it is that you do, you're gonna lose something.
I believe that's how it's supposed to be, yes.
And I feel like, and it's not necessarily lose life or whatever. You may lose sleep because you're trying to chase something.
That's a variable. That's a possibility.
I mean, because I'm old school, so I remember they would say when new was born, old goes out type situation, or somebody died.
Fourth quarter, typically. Yeah. A lot of people die throughout the fourth quarter to make room for the new. And,
so that, a lot of that stuff people would say that's just, old wives' tales. But one thing that I really feel like with being on a journey of being great, just being the best you that you can ever be, I feel like you will lose out on some stuff because even as far as for me, for example, wanting to be the best mom or the best wife, then as women, we do it a lot without even knowing. We put ourselves on the back burner.
You lose yourself.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you lose yourself. And then you get to this, you build a momentum to where you figure it all out. And then you're like, oh, okay, I really don't have to take away from myself to actually get to this level. Or I don't have to take away from my family to get here. But it's all what you define as greatness, what it is that you are going after. I think that's the biggest thing.
And I think we may need to use another word in a place of lose. What about sacrifice?
Exactly.
I think that's a little bit more digestible.
Because I'm going to tell you something, and this is interesting because I was speaking to someone and I said, some people don't understand what it is to sacrifice. And some people are okay with not having to sacrifice anything because they're okay with where they're at and they're fine with that.
Right. And we need people to be okay. I mean, everyone cannot be the star player on the team.
Exactly.
We got to have people, we got to have the role players.
And there's some people that may look at you and say, oh no, you sacrifice too much or you do too much. But and that's when that whole thing comes into play of, what are you defining as too much? Or what are you defining as greatness? What are you defining as that sacrifice? So it's one of those things to where I think it's that individual, what it is. Because some people would say, in order to be a great ball player, you have to do X, Y, Z. In order to be a great cook, you have to do X, Y, Z. In order to be a great student, you have to do X, Y, Z. Now, they will lay it out. But one thing I have learned along the way, what works for you may not work for the next person, because somebody can put in 12, 13 hours a day trying to perfect the craft, and then somebody else, it just come naturally. Just like with me, I can write a piece in probably about 5-10 minutes, and that's just like, if I'm hot, and it goes like this. That ink flows through my pen, and it just goes to show you it's different for everybody. So we can't sit there and say a lot of times, oh, well, he's not trying hard. We had a conversation yesterday with the kids. You know what I'm saying? Just because it takes you X amount of time to warm up before something, they can go in and,
And I guess you would say, to give a little bit more perspective of what we was talking about yesterday with our kids, we was on our way to our son's basketball game, and he was kind of goofing off in the back seat. And I said, Mason, get your head in the game.
Yeah.
I said, you ever notice before Daddy does anything involving an interview or podcast or whatever it is that I may do, I kind of like, my family said I started acting like a jerk, but I actually just kind of get in my zone. Nothing else really matters at that point. Let's let me do what I was supposed to do. It's no different than during the finals, if you see LeBron or something of that nature, I've always said throughout the finals, I'm willing to bet LeBron has a separate home that he goes to outside of his family. Because at that point, he's focusing on one thing, to be great, to further his legacy, and bring this chip home. So he's not really concerned about, well, guess what happened on Love and Hip Hop or so and so and so and so. Like, yo, y'all go ahead, take care of that. Let me be great. And that's what happened. And my wife at the time, not Lady Simone, but my wife at the time, she actually said, well, everyone actually operates differently. You may actually shut down, get into your zone. You may need to goof off to get the butterflies out.
And not necessarily goof off. It just be like,
lighten
him staying in his who he is, and just being a kid and just kind of like lightly taking it. You get the best game out of them. But if you sit there and try to make someone be serious and they're not, or just be like they'll probably start thinking about during why the stars don't touch the moon or something, and you be like, what in the world? So I think it's important that we have to allow people to do what it is that they want to do, figure out how it is that they should implement those things in their lives to reach certain goals, but understand it does not mean you have to work extremely hard. Like, you got people that sit out there, they don't have to go on no exercise bike, and they got body for days. And you got somebody who got to sit there. If they look at Candy, they always make that and say, they gain weight.
I believe there is a blueprint. I do believe there's a blueprint to anything. You can divvy a little bit off the blueprint, but nonetheless, I still think the core essence of it is there that you got to follow.
I don't believe that.
Like, okay, they say typically you got to build a house from the ground up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a house built from the top on down. I'm not saying it's never been done.
But now they have different engineering processes to where they're building homes. So
right,
now
they got different ones, but they still are following that initial blueprint.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because you look at it in this, and I don't know if this is, you can, correct me if I'm wrong, or it could be my opinion. But that's even just like now, like they say, build a house from the ground up, but now they got container homes. It takes away from what a house really, you know what I'm saying? So
I feel they still started from the foundation. It's a parallel to life. You got to start from the bottom and work your way up. I've never seen nobody start from the top and came down and, all right. You know what I mean? I came in here lit, so...
I feel like, man, honestly, I think a lot of the stuff, beliefs, we stand on a lot of beliefs that sometimes does not necessarily mean that's the way it's supposed to go. And I feel like we see that, oh man, we bump heads a lot with that in religion. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you were told to do things a certain way or even dress a certain way. So to go against that, oh, you're of the devil. But it's like, yo, like I remember telling somebody, I'm like, yo, cannot sit here.
I think the foundation of religion is to love one another.
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of stuff that people build up for different religions or even you could be in a religion for years and somebody say, well, no, you're doing this wrong. You're looking like, what? If I'm doing this wrong, like they say, one sin ain't bigger than the other. So we can't sit here and point fingers. So that's why I think that's important to build your own relationship at that point. Okay. Like, I feel like I built my own relationship with God, so nobody can tell me otherwise. Because my relationship is so strong to where I can get on my knees and pray for myself. I can, I feel like I can lay hands on me and we're going to move some mountains up in here versus having to call XYZ, Tom, Harry, and everybody. You know what I'm saying? So you got to develop a relationship to where you feel like you're powerful and strong enough to move certain things yourself. But outside of the religion thing,
Right. Back to the actual aspect of being great in all aspects and all angles of your life. Do you think... I think sacrifice comes with it. But I definitely think that you can be great. I just don't think you can be great at all of them at one time.
Ooh.
I think you can be great at different points. Like, all right, I conquered this right here. I'm great. I'm solidified. I'm stamped. All right, on to the next.
I don't know. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the rules continue to change. Nothing is constant but change. So then it goes back to... You could be in something, you feel like, you know what, I was great at this. Somebody else come along and then it breaks that record that made you great. You know what I'm saying?
But nonetheless, you're still in the books.
Yeah, but still, you're still, yes.
But that's what we make records for, is for someone to break them.
Yeah, but it goes to show that the rules can be broken. So even in the level of being greatness, there are things that will actually come up to where even when you go about, even when you go and try to figure things out and say, you know what? Okay, I figured it out. I'm great here. So then you're like, okay, I can slide this in and move this right here around, but I'm still standing in this greatness while I'm figuring out this greatness, and then I can do this right here. That's why you have some people that are able to do so many different things and be successful at it. You know what I'm saying? Because they just figured out how to manipulate
I
that.
think they gave each one of those things its time.
Oh, you have to now. You can't just put everything. I think you can't. I don't think like you say. Takes time. Yeah, it takes time.
Like it'll take me time to be a great father. All right. Once this is in no particular order, but once this happens, I'm gonna be a great husband.
But even in the midst of being, and that's what let me put this here. Even in the midst of you saying being a great father, being a great husband, when things like that, what you got to understand, the individual, when you put individuals in a factor, that changes because people grow, people change.
This is true.
So even on the level of being great in '92, you know what I'm saying? Your greatness gonna have to shift in 2000 because this person, you know, ain't the same person. Maybe they like this right here. Now different things change, you know, and their likes become something different, or their wants, their needs. You know what I'm saying?
So we are in agreement the fact that you can't be great in all aspects of life. It just takes time for each one to actually nurture. For you to actually subscribe to each one of them to nurture it to be at that point of quote unquote great.
I think so. And I think also we have to put in, ultimately for me, my opinion, I feel is what you define as greatness. Your self-definition for greatness. I think that's what it is. Ultimately at the end of the day. Because I can say, oh man, I feel great if I do X, Y, Z, and if I reach this level right here, and somebody else can be like, that is not considered greatness. You know what I'm saying?
Subjective. I think that's subjective. I think now we get into the psyche. I think it depends on how that person viewed themselves. Like someone could say a C, that's my best. I'm looking at you like, yo, dude, there's 2 more grades above a C.
A matter of fact, you know what's so crazy? That's something that
that's I think how you look at yourself.
Said Malik was like in middle school, they told him, like, and one of his teachers was like, everybody get a C. And he was looking at his teacher. No, she was like, matter of fact, it wasn't a C, it was a D. And he said that the teacher was like, make sure I want everybody to get a D, at least get a D so we can pass. And Malik was looking like, why would you encourage us to get a D and not encourage us to get an A?
The bar has been lowered. And that's why, and someone told me, a friend of mine too, my brother and my friend of mine as well, a friend of mine as well said that you can't put labels on things. We shouldn't label things. I said, no. We got to label things. So therefore we know what the difference is in good and great. You just have to. I think, and maybe not everything, but for the most part, you gotta label it as in good or great. If not, we don't have a measuring stick.
But not only just not having a measuring stick, people won't know how to identify things and set things apart. Because if you live in a world to where it's just everybody's the same, pretty much. If you say that,
boring.
You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's boring. It's nothing to reach for. It's nothing to look forward to. You should always be in a constant state of wanting more. Like some people say, well, how can you be at the top and these people still want more? You should always want more. And it's not nothing materialistic. You're not a bad person. It's just that you just reaching for more.
I think that goes up to the individual. You just set certain goals for yourself. Like I always,
and it's not necessarily always financial.
Right. And I always ask myself, like, what do Diddy and these other multi-millionaires do when they wake up in the morning? What fuels them? What drives them? It can't be money at this point. It cannot. It has to be legacy. Yeah. It has to be legacy.
But I'm pretty sure it's other things too. You got, I mean, when they got their kids, you know, they may have, it's so many other factors that we don't know, because a lot of times if you're not on that level, you don't even understand the magnitude of things that are out there that's on that. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't think on millionaire status. Well, you can think on millionaire status. That's something that you should start doing. But when you really get there, you can be like, oh my goodness, I didn't know all the wonderful things it was here. I'm looking at it just from the money aspect, or thinking like, oh man, this materialistic. But there's so much more there. Even a conversation may be a little different on that level.
It definitely will be a little bit different.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely be. We know a lot different.
Oh yeah, so that's why it's different to actually you think differently. You want to invest different. You look at the sharks. You know what I'm saying? That's exciting probably to them.
You look at Mark Cuban, who's a billionaire, and still get excited over a
So that goes to show you that on that level, that's different things that's on that level that we are not exposed to yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so
enough,
even at the level when you're at, people are like, why you want this right here? Do you want more? You want, you have
fair
that
enough.
desire.
Check this out right here, y'all. Before we end this podcast, this right here is something a little bit off the subject. As far as inspiration, right? I've spoken to a lot of people. Let me give y'all a little quick what is it, Easter egg hint? Easter egg is typically a movie. They have something that you kind of overlook, but they kind of planned it there for. Let me give y'all a little quick tip. There we go. How we use that word, quick tip. I'm sorry.
There he goes. He's trying to speak on that different level. Just go ahead and use that word tip.
Let me go ahead and give you a quick tip. If you're lacking inspiration or motivation, change up your routine. Prime example. If you work at a factory, right? Park in another parking lot of that factory. Walk in another door. Speak to some other people. Sit at another table. Go eat somewhere else. Try something else new. All these different things that happen in our life as content to wherever it is that you're actually trying to put out there. It's no different if every time you got a vacation, you want to go to Miami. All right, that's cool. But there's a lot of other cities that you can get inspired by to actually put back into what it is that you do. So I just wanted to put that little piece out there.
Can I piggyback off of that before you cut off?
No, you cannot. That was the end of that.
But I really would. And another thing too, take a different direction to work, because sometimes I'll travel the back road and it's going to take me about a cool 15 minutes out. But I'm telling you, you will see the way the trees sway probably a little different.
Something should spark you.
Yeah, you look at you will look at life just differently. Like, don't look at it from what you're going through. Look at it from the lenses of where you want to be. And then you start appreciating things at the level where you're at. So when you get where you want to be, you will start seeing like that sunshine a little brighter.
Even with that, if you're focused on where you're going, you're not going to be so caught up on where you're at.
Exactly. So because where you're at, where you're at is where you're at. That it ain't no changing. Right now, it's now. Sure, but imagine when you get to the point to where you're in your reality, but you're living beyond that, because you're thinking of, okay, this is what it is. But if I can train my mind to think of where I'm about to go and where I'm about to be, imagine the endless possibilities, because things are always going to work out despite whatever. It's always going to work out. You have to understand that. Whichever way that your mind is on, if you're in a negative state, a positive state, however that is, that's the way it's going to pan out. So why not think positive and then let things flow the way it's going to flow, but also live in that where it's about to be. Be happy, man.
And that's being happy is like changing your environment along with your mindset. Like, we stopped shopping at Walmart as frequently as we used to. We now shop at Publix. There's not a big difference, honestly.
Really, not really a big difference.
And Walmart's what, $3.24?
Well, not really.
Publix
Let's look at it this way.
$3.84.
To make, not even having to do number comparisons. If you're a great value shopper and you like to get everything great value, then when you go to Publix, then you get the Publix brand. It's not really a big difference. You're talking about a couple of cents.
Not that big of a difference, honestly. But
you go for that environment. Watch.
That's right. The difference is the service.
Yeah.
It's like going to okay, you know what? You may not want to go to Publix. Step up to Target. Yeah. You get a different experience, so you'll feel a lot better as far as when you're spending your money, and hopefully the food that you digest is going to come from a better place, because the people at that present time, so it seems, are preparing it in such a better atmosphere.
The energy that is put towards actually greeting you and giving you your food and say, hello, how are you today? Okay, yes, this is your deli meat. Compared to, here you go. You know, that exchange of energy is very important. I think people forget that.
Your food.
Energy just travels. It's so much. That's why you got to be careful with that. You meet people, you bump into people, and it's like that shift can happen so quick. And you don't want that to happen, because you want to stay in that state of being grateful, being happy, and just understanding that, anything can happen at any moment.
Very much.
Life can change so quick, for the worst or for the good. You know what I'm saying? So you stay in that gratefulness and that joy and that happiness. You may meet somebody that just changed your whole life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So with that, y'all, we're going to go ahead and end this episode of With All Due Respect podcast. As usual, I am your main man, Mo, and to the front of me is the flirtatious LadySamoan. I keep telling her that I'm married, but my wife Courtney going to get on her ass. That's what's going to happen.
Ooh.
But until next time, yo, we go to With All Due Respect podcast. Y'all have yourself a good week. Peace.
All right.
With all due respect, with all due respect.